All right, and we are back with another installment of our Spartans Village podcast, temporarily named, maybe permanently now. I don't know. I feel like this is just one of those things where we're gonna wake up one morning and just accept the fact that this is what we are. We're the Scott Van Pelts. We're the Spartan Village podcast.
I do like how it's SVP, but I also
Mm.
liked Frankie said the big oorah. That can be our nickname, maybe.
The big oorah. Well, we're recording on Monday afternoon, just before the end of the school day, coming off an exciting weekend as the football team had their first game on Friday and a great success, a 27-6 road win up at Spellman. And we have highlights. I haven't seen any of these. Nate's gone through them and put together a little highlight reel for us. And we're going to our way through a highlight package. And going in blind here. So I'm excited to see how this game unfolded. What were the main things that leapt off? I know South Coast today had an article about the game. What were the main highlights here?
Yeah, I would say definitely the defensive performance. They allowed only 81 total yards, I believe, throughout the entire game, which is a pretty significant achievement, especially in high school. And our offense, especially our run game, was really solid. I was talking to Coach Golden on Saturday a bunch about the game, and I was like, well, what about this pass play? I saw you guys run in practice like 15 times over and over again. He's like, they didn't even think to go to it because they were just having so much success up front. They just kind of kept pounding the ball. And so I think this week's going to be a different challenge. But yeah, the run game and the defense and the special teams is really solid as well. So I'm excited to check out some of these clips with you.
Well, you don't have to be too humble, Nate. For those that don't know, Nate's been um, kind of providing a little assistant coaching with the kickers. And I think I heard that our boy Andrew Martin had 3 extra points, 3 for 4.
Yes, he was 3 for 4. And they put him in the paper as 2 for 3, but that was inaccurate. He was 3 for 4. And yeah, he's been working really hard. And, the biggest thing I think, which I talked to the coaches about as well, is like these kickers, especially Andrew, Pedro's doing the kickoffs. They are going to feed off the fact that you have the confidence in them to send them out there. So, I know fully well just from talking to him, he's going into the game not sure if he's going to get called to kick an extra point or a field goal in the game. And it was like, they didn't even think about it, the coaching staff. It was second nature, like we're going for one. And he went out there, and every kick he gets, he's going to feel more and more confident, which is awesome because it's such a weapon if you really have a strong kicking game. So it's exciting.
All right, well, let's just jump right into these. I'm excited to finally see some footage. It was a huge bummer we weren't able to watch this online on Friday, so I'm excited to finally see some of the action. What do we got here first?
So first highlight's going to be on defense. I picked this clip just because of the way that the guys rallied to the ball. They're really flying around. Yeah, you hear football coaches talk a lot about rallying to the football. And once you've kind of figured out where the play's going, like you got to get as many white shirts in there as possible. And everybody's in there putting a hat on a hat, trying to make a play, which is exciting. This play I picked, and there's a few offensive ones, and I think this is important too, especially for when we broadcast the games coming up and when we're going to be calling them, just for the audience to get an understanding of what we're trying to do on offense with this triple option that we're running. It can be a little bit complex, but I think these clips will do a good job just showing you what we're going for.
So that looks like 14 of Dylan's 173 yards rushing that he had.
Yeah, so great decision by Dylan. And really, in this offense, so much of the responsibility is on the quarterback. They really have to read the defense. So at this point, he snaps the ball, and he, every time they run the option, he's got a back coming through the backfield, and he has to read whether the middle is jammed up. If you can see my cursor, if he feels like there's a lot of red shirts there, he's going to hold on to this ball and tuck it like he does in this play. If he feels like we've created a good gap for Frankie or Jake or Greg or anybody to run through, then he's gonna hand that ball off. But it's a decision he's got to make in really about a half a second, which is really tough. So, but you see here, it's kind of clogged up. He keeps it, and he really hits the hole really well.
Jeez.
So there's a few of those.
You poured over the entire game, Stave. Is that Like what percentage of their offensive snaps were running the triple option?
Yeah, high percentage. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's nice about this kind of offense is because, if you watch an NFL game, they've got 30, 40, 50 plays maybe that they're going to run. Whereas with an option, you have options. And so the fact is you can run the same play 10 times in a row and it can look different 10 times in a row, depending on what options you choose. I tried to pick clips that show a lot of the different possibilities, but go ahead. Sorry.
Just gotta say, it's also an expression of great trust in Dylan and his decision making too.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely there's a lot of onus on the quarterback in their decision making. And I'll just say I wasn't aware of the way that he could run. He really when you watch this, he kind of for me took me by surprise. I didn't realize he was this fast. So this is another good one here we'll watch. Okay, so that's a handoff to Frankie. Frankie's 32. And if you see at the point of the handoff happens, right, you can see a huge hole developing right here. And Dylan sees that and knows that. And so he's going to let that one go. I mean, boom, our offensive line is really winning the battle on that play and just opening up a ton of room for us to run through.
Nate, for those that are relatively new to this, what's the third option in the triple option? We've seen Dylan, we've seen Frankie.
We're going to get there. It's coming up right now. Yep. If you see that second back in the backfield, his role will change depending on what the call is. And so you're going to see him do a couple of different things. On certain ones, he's going to try to get through the hole ahead of the other running back. And on others, he's going to leak out. And this is a good example of that one here.
Man, this new field is nice though, huh?
Yeah, it looks beautiful, especially in the sunlight at the beginning of the game.
Jeez. Someday, Spartans, someday.
Someday soon.
All right, so here's another one. And what are we going to see here, Nate?
So this one, same thing. It's just a little bit different because he's running to the weak side. There's going to be a lot of room on the outside. And basically what he wants to read is these linemen again and see where they're lining up. So I know it's a little hard to see, but basically he's got the ball in Frankie's gut, but really what his head is turned towards the line. And he's looking and trying to read exactly what they're doing. So on this one, he sees he's got a bunch of real estate down here and he's going to go into it. And now what you see when he gets to this point is you've got Jake out here, who is that third option. So the first option is the running back coming through the hole. Second option is a quarterback keeper. And then the third option is the pitch. So on this one, he probably makes the right decision ultimately, even though Jake was with him, because any coach is going to take, this turns out to be a 7 or 8 yard gain. Sign them up for an 8 yard gain every time they run it. They'll take it every single time.
Right. Whatever possible extra yards you might get there probably isn't worth risking pitching the ball and whatever fumble may happen. Yeah.
Right. Because of course it's a risk and it's a hard thing. So yeah, it's funny. It takes me back to remember the Titans because when Ronnie Bass, the guy they call Sunshine, he's always talking about how he can't make the pitch. And this is the pitch that they're talking about because they're running a very similar system. So it's definitely a risk to put that ball out there because if the ball's going backwards, if he drops it or it's a bad toss, that's a fumble and that ball is going to be live.
All right. Well, why don't we take a quick break before we come back and look at the rest of these clips together? But so far, so good. We'll keep this going. All right. Take a quick break. All right. We are back. A little bit of a location change for the two of us, but now we're settled in and we're ready to look at the rest of the highlights you put together for us, Nate. So we've seen option 1 and option 2. What's next?
Yeah, so the last clip we left off with, you saw Dylan hold on to the ball, pull it that's how they describe it. And he pulls around to the edge, gets into the open field, and he's got that second running back with him, but he chooses not to pitch it on that play. And I believe here we are going to see him choose to pitch it this time.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, textbook right there. And the awesome thing about this play is we get a look at Greg Morales, who is another one of the running backs in the backfield, number 3. And he's just such an athlete, such a weapon. He's one of those guys they're going to try and get the ball in his hands any chance they get. But we'll back up and watch that one again.
Sure.
So again, Dylan's eyes are looking down at this defensive end here. He's seeing what he's got. And And what he sees is that this defensive end is kind of staying, or basically what they try to see is this guy going to crash down and try to make a tackle on the running back, or is he going to stay wide? And you see number 50 is the guy that Dylan's supposed to read. And Dylan knows that before the snap. So as soon as he makes the snap, he's holding the ball out, but his eyes are on number 50. And when he sees number 50 commit to Frankie, which he does, look, he literally tackles Frankie or tries to tackle him.
Yeah.
Right? By that point, Dylan's already gone with the ball. So he's pulled it and tucked it, and here he goes.
Love
so this is really cool. You get a really good look at that, right? So their linebacker does a nice job recovering here. I think it's 53. And, if Dylan holds on to this ball, he maybe gets tackled here. It's maybe a 1 or 2 yard gain, or he tries to cut back and get upfield. But he's got the pitch right in open space, makes a really nice pitch to Greg. And Greg goes and gets another 7-8 yards off of that,
Boom.
which is excellent.
All right, so what do we got here, Nate?
So this play is a little bit of a different play than we've seen so far with the option. It's going to give a chance for Dylan to get around the edge.
So he fakes the handoff and boom, big block. 53 we said was Ben Gowell. It's a huge one there. Jeez.
Couple of awesome things. I mean,
I want to see that again.
Yeah, so much on this play is just awesome.
Pow.
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, this is like almost a misdirection, right? So they're trying to convince everybody that the handoff's going this way and that they're going to attack that way. And 22, you see Jake coming through is really his lead blocker. And so once Dylan makes this fake, Jake's getting out in open field and looking to create a lane for him. And I'm willing to bet, if you know Ben Gowell at all, if you've talked to him at all and know what he's all about, I'm willing to bet he is begging the coaches to run this play because it sets up for him to make, boom, this block right here. Now, as great as that...
Any opportunity to crack someone, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, as great as that block is, probably the best thing that happens if you watch him and number 7 from Cardinal Spellman happens after the play. So keep your eye right there. That's one of those situations
that was good.
Where 7 says, hey, that's a heck of a block. And they get up and slap hands. And at the end of, you heard Frankie and Dylan talk about that, about shaking hands at the end. Ultimately, that's what it's about. And it's one of those things where you're able to recognize when a guy makes a great play. And it's yeah, you got me on that one. Right.
Good job by you, Bengal.
So the next play we're going to see is the touchdown.
Touchdown number 1. So this is the second quarter, right?
Correct.
So it's 0-0 at this point.
0-0 at this point. And that drive that you just saw. So we had the big run. We got down deep. And ultimately, we weren't able to convert on 4th down. So if you've ever seen those things on ESPN where they freeze it and they give you A, B, C, and D, what you think is going to happen on the next play or what's about to happen. I'm willing to bet you would have no idea how this touchdown is going to happen. And it shocks me.
I'm so nervous. All right.
Every time I watch it.
Excuse me. I need to see it again. I don't even know what just happened. It was like a QB sneak that somehow turned into a what? I still don't actually see it happen. Okay. So definitely something of a defensive breakdown by the line there for sure. But also look at that. Look at all the big boys getting forward. The offensive line is it's like a sieve going through that Z line. Jeez.
So I asked Coach Golden, what, and I asked Dylan, what is up with this play? How did this happen? And both of them laughed. But basically they said they had to give credit to Coach Paulo, who said he noticed something in the way that Spellman was lining up on their defensive line. And he was like, I'm telling you, we can get 5-6 yards every time we sneak based on the gap that they have there. What they didn't expect was Dylan to just go by everybody. But he's passed everybody in an instant. And it's what do you...
Yeah, you see that the breakaway speed that you were saying that you didn't expect from him is on display there, because that happens in a split second, and all of a sudden he's past the safety and gone.
Correct. Yeah, and it's not an insult or anything to Dylan, but he's a tall kid. He's got good size, and when he takes off like that, like I said, it took me by surprise. He reminds me a lot of Vince Young, who was one of my favorite college players, played at Texas. He runs very upright, and so in a way it almost looks like he's going slow, because he's not kind of like hunched over and like attacking holes in that way, because he runs so high, but that really allows him to open up his strides. And I mean,
I'm definitely going to be curious going forward to see, now that this is on film on YouTube.com. I'm curious to see how other teams now start trying to prepare for Dylan there for sure, because I feel like game one maybe caught him flat-footed a little bit on their heels.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see how the teams start trying to figure out what they're going to do about, because 173 yards rushing for quarterback is obviously not ideal.
And that's a recipe to lose when you give up that much on the ground. So yeah, and I think if you asked him, he would say, "I welcome that because it's going to let me do other facets of my game that I'm excited about, including his throwing ability." So you're right, though. It will be interesting to see what develops off of that. So that was the first touchdown. The next play we're going to see is punt return, and this was a theme throughout the game. Is our special teams was outstanding. In they always talk about trying to put all three phases of the game together: offense, defense, and special teams. Special teams, I'll just say in general, is one that usually falls behind in high school, and our special teams were outstanding on Friday night. So the kick's away. Kid gets off a great punt. It actually goes over our head, and we're having trouble fielding it. But Liam Cogliano is the one who picks it up.
Dang, is that coach? Who's that running with their hands on their head?
If you remember, we talked about Coach Perry and that he was going to need a holdback guy. Look at him go down the field. Look at him.
He's bugging. Yeah.
That's how I'm telling you. This guy, I tell people this all the time. He could coach. I would play anything for John Perry. He could coach me in chess, and he would get me fired up. That's just how he is. It's awesome.
Well, I read about that they had a bunch of big defensive or special teams defensively, a bunch of big plays, a couple of blocks, but didn't see this punt return mentioned.
Yeah, so we're gonna see a couple of those in a minute.
Cool.
But this, I just want to point out one other thing that's really good, like textbook football stuff, kids who understand what they're doing. So at this point right here, you have Liam. He realizes he's shifting the side of the field, and he's got the ball in his right hand. And the reason that's dangerous is because the guys who are going to tackle you are going to hit you on your right side, right? So if you watch him right here, it's very subtle, and it's something
shifts it over
to the left hand, which protects it. Is really important, right? And he does it he doesn't slow down, he doesn't break stride, he just rolls. And now he's got it in his left hand, and now he can use his right hand as a stiff arm if he wants to. I think he starts to lose a little bit of gas here, understandably so. And the kid makes a good play. He doesn't give up on it, which is good to see. But just an awesome play from Liam, who's going to be
return.
He's going to be a big factor in the return game and in the receiving game, for sure.
Love it. And again, just awesome blocking all around. Jeez.
There's a huge block. I want to say it's Nick Highland, who we're going to have on the podcast later in this episode, I should say. And it's just out of frame, and you just barely miss it. But if you look at this part of the screen right here, you're going to see, those are those blindside ones on punts and kicks that are really, really tough. But this is a great segue, because this next play is what Nick Highland is all about, and why they were so excited when he was a transfer from Moses Brown. We're going to hear a lot about that process and that decision for him. But my goodness.
Wow. So what was the situation here?
So this is getting close to the end of the first half. Okay, Spellman's at the 50. They're going to have to create a pass play if they want to have a chance to go down and kick a field goal or score a touchdown. So they go a little play action. This is actually like a professional looking set with a fullback and a running back in the backfield. And before the quarterback can even think about even opening up his shoulders to make a pass, Nick's all over him. And again, like you talked about other teams watching the film, he forces the fumble too. That's going to be one where it's like number 5 is not the person to leave unblocked, because he's so athletic, so fast. If you let him come off the edge, he's going to create a lot of problems.
Pow. Jeez.
Yep. And just one more thing that I'll add about this, that's kind of an unsung hero thing about this. I believe, I'm not exactly sure, but this might be Ben Gowell as well. And he must have been having success because you see two players focus on blocking him. And that
Oh yeah,
opens
yep.
up that lane for Nick. So like linemen got to feed off weird things because they don't always get the publicity. Like they got to get excited about different things. And if you're getting double teamed, it's like you must be doing something effective to mess with their game plan. Otherwise, they wouldn't be double teaming you.
Another good job by you for Bengal. Nice. So we've seen a couple big plays by Ben, a couple big plays by Nick, Dylan, Frankie. What else we got?
We've got 3 plays left. So I figured we wanted to make sure that we showed all the scores. And this is again that QB sneak, more traditional QB sneak that you're used to seeing.
Short right, yardage. Not 30 yards. Yes.
Right. And he just gets good push. He stays upright, and he's going to be tough to stop on that play, no matter who you're playing.
All right. So what did that put us at? Do you know what the score is then after that touchdown?
So that was
Can't see the scoreboard.
Yeah, that was our second score. And this put us up 13-0. We had missed the first extra point, and then Andrew came in and knocked that one through.
All right. Our boy.
And I just have 2 more plays to show you. This one is going to be a big run by Dylan. Another look at this triple option. A little bit of a different look where you have the 2 receivers wide.
Dang. Yeah.
So again, and this is something we heard him talk about, and when we interviewed them, is like an understanding of the system. Like he's been practicing this for 4 years. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows the reads. So this one develops a little bit differently because that defensive end really stays home, and he's thinking more about Greg than he is about Dylan. And so instead of Dylan going wide and going out here towards Greg into this area, he's instead going to cut it upfield, kind of cut back on the kid, and he actually follows Frankie through that hole.
Yeah, you can see it. Jeez.
So see, he runs up the middle, and he's just outrunning corners and safeties, which you don't typically see from a big quarterback like that, which is awesome. And then the last play is another play by Nick. Another example of you don't want to leave this kid unblocked because he's it reminds me of what they always say about Aaron Donald is like from the Rams. It's like he'll ruin your game plan. Like you got to make sure that you protect against this guy. So Nick's going to be on the edge right in this general area, and you're going to see him come off on this punt pretty much untouched. And he actually blocks
there he
the punt.
goes. And they block it. Well, all 3 phases of the game clearly, at work on Friday night, and it's can't imagine a more all-around positive start to the season than a big 20-point win on the road where all 3 phases contribute. And I saw in the South Coast article that they named Frankie their player of the game, in spite of the fact that Dylan had 173 yards and 2 touchdowns of his own, for that very reason, that Frankie was contributing on offense, defense, and special teams. And so that all-around performance, you're seeing it by the team, you're seeing it by individuals. And heck, if you can replicate that a couple more times, they may be onto something.
And that's again, going back to one of the really cool and unique things about high school football is you're going to have some of your best players playing special teams. Whereas NFL, like it's a lot of times it's backups and fringe roster players. But like Frankie is, if not their most important player and somebody who's going to be involved in almost everything they do, coming around the edge and blocking kicks, so for a running back and a starting safety to be in on special teams and like making impact plays, you just can't ask for anything better than that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're looking forward to Saturday at 1:00 here at Stang, and Nate, you and I will be there, and hopefully anyone who wants to will be able to join us live on the Spartans YouTube channel right here, where we'll have the game live, and we'll be there talking through it with everyone, for everyone, Saturday afternoon. God willing, we'll get some decent weather. It still looks a little cold, but hopefully we'll get decent weather, and we'll be able to have no problems in getting that feed up online and sharing it with everyone.
Yeah, and so I think, like you're gonna hear me talk a lot about a lot of the things that I illustrated today, but hopefully that's kind of gives you a preview of like what our offense looks like, and when people watch the game on Saturday and going forward, they're gonna kind of know what to look for. So Saturday is gonna be tough. Archbishop Williams played Bishop Fian last week. They won 21-7, and we know from
Yikes.
our history with Bishop Fian that that's a very good football team. So Archbishop Williams is coming in here off of a big win. We're welcoming them in after a big win. And even though it's early in the season, it's two undefeated teams going toe to toe to stay undefeated in the conference, which is all the hype and excitement that you could ask for.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have Nick on next after we take one more break, and we'll have fun breaking down this game, and maybe he'll have some thoughts about looking forward to their first, two undefeateds going at it on Saturday afternoon with their first home game of the season. Any lingering thoughts before we get out of here, Nate?
No, nothing else. Just that I think you and I are both really enjoying doing this. And again, like I haven't got too much feedback in the sense of people giving us suggestions, but like I've had people say like, oh, I checked it out, it wasn't so bad, and things like that. But we're still looking for ideas and suggestions and name changes. So we welcome all of that stuff definitely, and look forward to just continuing to do this and have fun with it and make it grow as much as possible. So.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll be sitting down with Nick to talk about Friday night. Word.